It's Friday, and you know what that means. The Hudson Media Group proudly brings to you the latest edition of Talking Politics. And certainly, I am the generational talent in Garden State Media and your leader for trustworthy journalism. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Super Bowl week. I'm sure you're filling in your Super Bowl boxes at work or wherever else. And listen, let's just hope for a good game this weekend, as it is Super Bowl 60, emanating from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California, between the AFC champions, the New England Patriots, and of course the NFC champions, the Seattle Seahawks. Should be a pretty competitive game. I'm sure I'll enjoy all the commercials. Folks, again, please party responsibly and enjoy Super Bowl 60 this weekend. Of course, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. I want to thank fellow Rutgers alumnus and a member of the Pinnacle here in Hudson County and the editor of the Hudson County View, John Robert Hines, for his reporting on this very interesting story. And you know what? Anytime that Joe Muniz takes a loss, you know what? That's always a good day in Hudson County. But let's get into that here. Now, a Superior Court judge dismissed former Hudson County Schools of Technology Board Secretary Joey Muniz's recent lawsuit against the district, where he alleged an 18-year affair with the then superintendent. Now, Ray Mateo, Richard Spatola, and Corey Danielle Rapasi, attorneys at the Newark-based Calnelli and Kanefsky, representing former Superintendent Amy Lynn Rodriguez, had a motion to dismiss heard by Hudson County Superior Court Judge Kalima Ahmed last week. Now, prior to granting the motion, she dismissed a cross motion from Wiener Law Group partner Stephen Edelstein, Muniz's counsel in the matter, where she explained her reasoning. Quote, while the court fully sympathizes with the health challenges experienced by counsel, said delays clearly do not constitute significant enough interference to warrant an exceptional circumstance, particularly given the numerous attorneys involved in the matter. Now, furthermore, the certification does not speak to said health issues and only asserts that all responsive discovery in the possession of plaintiff has been produced. As to the receipts, after meeting with Mr. Muniz various times, is said the search remains ongoing, having been ongoing since March 2025. Despite the passing of 7 months, not one document responsive to the RFP has been produced. Such deficiency is not explained in the certification. Said certification does not outline any exceptional circumstances required to avoid dismissal of the case. As a result, Ahmad dismissed Lynn Rodriguez from the case with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled on Wednesday, January the 28th, according to recent court records. And the Schools of Technology was previously dismissed from the case without prejudice, meaning that Muniz could not potentially have the ability to file an amended complaint in the future. The fallout from Muniz's lawsuit led to Lynn Rodriguez's contract not being renewed, and 3 different superintendents, 2 of them acting, being named in 6 months, with Lynn Rodriguez now the Explorer Middle School principal, as first reported by the Hudson County View. Now, counsel for Lynn Rodriguez, Muniz, and the Hudson County Schools of Technology did not return inquiries seeking comment. Well, a couple of things, folks. For anyone that knows anything about Hudson County politics, specifically Northern Hudson County, knows that Joey Muniz is pretty much a douchebag. So anytime he takes an L, whether it's in the court of public opinion or in a court of law, I think it's a good day for everybody. This is a guy who, let's be honest, has, well, again, I don't want to sort of walk the line of slander or defamation, but let's just say that Joey Muniz has lived a pretty good life from working at the Hudson County Schools of Technology for many, many years. Let's just say that he's put himself in a much better tax bracket than many of us watching this show. But if you know Joey Muniz overall as a person, you know he's pretty sneaky, and he's a scumbag. So I don't think anyone's crying a river for Joey Muniz. But this is where it gets interesting, folks, because it's lawsuits like this that give us a perspective of how some school districts aren't really run efficiently or even ethically. And what we've learned about the Hudson County Schools of Technology is that it's come under considerable scrutiny, whether in hirings and firings, and in this case, whether or not Joey Muniz has a leg to stand on legally. Now, again, I can call balls and strikes fairly on this show, and I'm not someone that, struggles to be objective, because I am. Folks, again, I'm the truth teller here in Hudson County, and I tell it like it is, and I tell you the truth on this show. I don't lie to you like other journalists do in establishment media in New Jersey. But I can tell you that, again, as the leader in independent media here in Hudson County with the Hudson Media Group and my own brand as well, I can tell you that talking about Joey Muniz doesn't really require a lot of effort. The material kind of just writes itself. Now, listen, in fairness, I've run into Joey Muniz on multiple occasions at political events throughout the years. Yeah, he's a gentleman, I guess. He'll shake my hand or just nod in acknowledgement that I'm in the room and vice versa. I don't really have any desire or interest to make friends with Joey Muniz. I mean, this is a guy who, let's be honest, has burned a lot of bridges in Hudson County politics. This is a guy who, over the years, has been notorious for some shady and underhanded tactics. As we all know, folks, for over 25 years, there's been an ongoing feud between North Bergen Mayor Nicholas Sacco and my mayor in Union City, Brian Stack. That feud is taking on a life of its own. I mean, you can almost write a docuseries, folks, on Netflix about what this feud has meant for Hudson County residents and, of course, for journalists like myself reporting and discussing it for nearly a quarter century. Now, as we all know, Joey Muniz has been one of the staunch defenders and one of the more loyal members of Nick Sacco's inner circle, really for the past 10 years or so. Now, does it mean that Joey Muniz's political capital has eroded? Tough to say right now, but he's not a guy that many politicos or even elected officials or journalists or political pundits like myself will ever really take seriously again. Now, again, that's based on factors and, some things that have been said to me off the record that I don't want to share on this show, out of respect to my sources that have given me information over the years. But folks, when we read judgments like this and when we read information, again, shout out to John Highness, getting the scoops better and quicker than anybody else in Hudson County media. Let's start with that. But let's put that aside for a second. When we look at what the Hudson County Schools of Technology has become, and again, a lot of the accusations have been that over the years, it's become a patronage mill over there, where jobs have been handed out left and right. And sooner or later, you start looking at the superintendent of the Hudson County Schools of Technology and whether or not he or she has to be held responsible. Now, tragically, someone that's been put in a really precarious position is the Hudson County executive, Craig Guy, who oversees the Schools of Technology. Now, again, he has a lot on his plate, as we know. He's not just only the county executive, he's also the chairman of the Hudson County Democrat Party. So, you're wearing many hats here. But for Mr. Guy, I mean, obviously, seeing what's become of the HCST certainly has to be a concern for him and others within his administration. Let's get back to Joey Muniz, a guy who goes out of his way to be pretty unlikable. And I know what you're going to say as you're watching this, so that's pretty rich coming from Fernando Uribe, who lives to be a villain. Well, folks, again, here's the thing that differentiates me from people like Joey Muniz and his ilk. Sure, you want to vilify me, you want to paint me as a villain because of my views and what I do with my media brand. Listen, that's your business. And you're certainly entitled to your opinion. What you're not entitled to are your own facts. And despite whatever my media brand represents here locally and statewide, I'm still a pretty active member of the community. I'm a dedicated and award-winning philanthropist. That's not something a lot of people can claim here in Hudson County. So while you might want to throw stones at me and burn me in effigy, sure, you can do that and you're entitled to do that. But at the end of the day, when you get into my character and integrity, it's pretty, impeccable. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty incorruptible. Can't say the same for other people in Hudson County. Now, again, I want to be careful here. I don't want to be accused of I don't want Joey Muniz in his camp to accuse me of slander or defamation. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying to you is that there's a reason why Joey Muniz has the reputation that he has. And sooner or later, the chickens come home to roost. Sooner or later, people get receipts on Joey Muniz. Now, whether or not he's going to go off into the sunset politically or whatever else, that remains to be seen. But I got to tell you, seeing Joey Muniz take an L here, trust me, I'm not crying about it. And I can tell you for certain, from people I talk to throughout Hudson County, a lot of other people throughout this area aren't crying either. But we'll see what happens. Again, he's pretty resourceful. He's pretty conniving, analytical. So we'll see where Joey Muniz lands and whether or not he gets back on his feet politically and whether or not he can exert any sort of influence that he once had in Hudson County. That remains to be seen. But if we know anything about Joey Muniz, he's pretty resourceful, so don't count him out. But also be careful with him because, like I said, he's someone you definitely don't want to trust. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. And now to some local stories for your consideration. And once again, thank you to a member of the Pinnacle and fellow Rutgers alumnus, John Robert Highness, the editor of the Hudson County View, for his reporting on this story. Now, 8th congressional district candidate Musab Ali is asserting that U.S. Representative Ron Menendez, again out of the 8th Congressional District, has copied his stance to abolish the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, which U.S. Representative Bonnie Watson-Coleman out of the 12th Congressional District, and thankfully is retiring, good riddance to her, is actually rebuffing. Quote, when we launched this campaign, we were told our platform was too bold and too risky. 7 days later, the incumbent now agrees with one of our core positions. That tells you something about where the district is and who's setting the agenda. Anyone can adopt a position once it feels safe. Leadership is taking it when it's hard before the pressure builds and standing by it even when it costs you something. His remarks come after Menendez made the call to abolish ICE during a virtual town hall this last week, which he co-hosted with Watson-Coleman and U.S. Representative, Slim over there, LaMonica MacGyver out of the 10th Congressional District, both who have endorsed him for re-election. He's made similar calls in the past week or so when it comes to abolishing ICE. Ali went on to say as well, quote, abolishing ICE is one of the 5 promises we made to voters. If the congressman now agrees on this, I hope he'll join us on the rest. That means opposing ICE, funding in practice, supporting universal health care, standing up to corporate power, and choosing diplomacy over permanent war. This race isn't about who says the right thing last. It's about who's willing to lead first and who they're really accountable to when it counts. And the challenger also criticized the incumbent for taking more corporate PAC money than individual donors during the most recent fourth quarter of 2025. Watson-Coleman, who joined Menendez and MacGyver in making a surprise visit to an ICE detention center exactly 1 year ago, said Ali has to resort to fabrication since he can't hold a candle to her colleague's track record on this issue. Quote, Musab Ali has to lie about Rob's record because his own record on fighting ICE doesn't come close. Rob has been a true progressive and has always been at the forefront on these issues. We were all together that day at Delaney Hall when we faced down numerous armed HSI and ICE agents, and he's with me every day fighting against this administration and against ICE standing up for what's right. Rob has always been for protecting our communities, while Musab has always been for himself. Well, that's true, but more on that later. Ali responded that as recently as the last election cycle, Menendez described himself as a moderate, not a progressive. Quote, in fact, when AIPAC endorsed him in 2024, he was listed simply as, quote, pro-Israel, not as a progressive candidate, distinction them make explicitly when it applies. Progressivism isn't about showing up to one moment. It's also about virtue signaling and grandstanding, but more on that later. It's about consistently talking and taking positions early, voting accordingly, and refusing corporate PAC influence. That's the standard voters deserve to apply in this race. Now, the 8th Congressional District primary is set for June 2nd, and it appears that Ali and Menendez are poised for a head-to-head matchup for the Democrat Party here in the 8th Congressional District. Well, a lot to unpack here. A couple of things. And let me just start off by saying, folks, as you know, I'm one of the more outspoken conservatives, not just in Hudson County, but throughout the state of New Jersey, specifically with my brand of independent media. But let me just say this. As a conservative, there are some progressive positions or stances that I can get behind because they make sense. Okay? I'm not one of these sort of party liners or hard stance type of guys where I won't deviate. I'm a policy nerd, folks. Again, I'm not just only a journalist, I'm also an academic with multiple graduate degrees. So I like to think analytically and also out of the box when necessary. And there are some progressive issues I can get behind. For example, and this is one of the things that always stands out for me when it comes to progressives. When it comes to universal health care, listen, I've always been consistent on this premise. A healthier population is a more productive population, not just in the workplace, but in the home, certainly being able to be accessible to family and things of that nature. If we're dependent on prescription drugs and pharmaceutical companies and big pharma and big med, sure, that's not good for anybody. Now, how we get to that point of providing affordable healthcare for over 400 million Americans, I mean, listen, folks, that's a little bit above my pay grade. But what I can tell you is that, again, we have universal healthcare for our veterans, and God knows they deserve every bit of it. But even for anyone that even knows, and I volunteered at the VA, folks, in East Orange, New Jersey many years ago, so I can tell you wholeheartedly that, care for our veterans needs drastic improvement. But having said that, trying to reach some sort of compromise about universal healthcare, more affordable healthcare isn't a bad thing. As I said before, if you're more productive at work, you're not taking time off, if you're able to spend more time with family, if you're healthier around your family and not a burden to them, either financially or fiscally, that's a good thing. So I can get with some of these positions when it comes to progressive politics. All right. For example, standing up to corporate power. Listen, do I feel that some corporations have too much power? Absolutely. Okay. I mean, listen, folks, I'm an iPhone user. Okay. I mean, trust me, do I wish Apple wasn't as expensive when it comes to their products? Sure. Do I wish that other companies perhaps pay their employees a better wage? Yeah, sure. Especially in a state like New Jersey where it continues to become unaffordable, right? We have the highest property taxes in the country. The gas tax just went up again. Tolls on the Parkway and the Turnpike went up again this year. So again, folks, and the state budget continues to get fatter than some of the more recent Victoria's Secret models when Victoria's Secret was at one time very woke. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I can find some sort of common ground with that. Okay, and of course, choosing diplomacy over permanent war. Yes, should we be funding countries and wars around the world? No, of course not. We should take that money and invest it here domestically in infrastructure and helping citizens, helping our veterans, for God's sakes, not helping illegals, that's for sure. So I can get with some of these progressive stances. But where Musab, and to some extent, I mean, I get that Rob Menendez, the sitting U.S. representative in the 8th Congressional District, is trying to appeal to a lot of the progressives. And let's be honest, folks, a lot of progressives have moved into Hudson County. You see it in Hoboken, you see it in the Jersey City Heights, you see it in downtown Jersey City, even some parts of northern Hudson County, whether it be West New York, Weehawken, Union City, you name it. Even Secaucus. Okay? Now, I get it that ICE is a very polarizing topic. I get all that stuff. But folks, at the end of the day, enforcing federal immigration law is what's on the books. And that's the job of the legislature. Okay? Not to sort of go off on a tangent here and pretend I'm teaching a civics class. But again, folks, understand that there are 3 separate independent branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. And part of writing laws falls on the responsibilities of the legislative branch, which again is our Congress, the United States House of Representatives, and the United States Senate. Now, as we all know, ICE was reorganized as a new agency once the creation of the Department of Homeland Security came into reality in 2003, shortly after the terrorist attacks by Islamic extremists in 2001. And yes, for many, many decades, INS, the Immigration Naturalization Service, was its own agency, very much like Customs Enforcement was its own agency. Now, under the design of the Department of Homeland Security, there was a reorganization and we saw ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. And I get it, folks, that for decades, both Republican presidents and Democrat presidents have used ICE to remove dangerous illegals from our country and have deported tens upon tens of millions of illegals here in the United States. From George W. Bush to Bill Clinton to Barack Obama to the first Donald Trump term to Joe Biden and now the second Donald Trump term. Okay? And ICE has been doing their job, getting rid of many dangerous illegals. Now, I get it, folks. There are institutions that corrupt the narrative here, that prefer to, let's be honest, grandstand and virtue signal when it comes to how to perceive ICE. Now, are ICE officers and agents best trained right now? I would argue no. When you're only getting 47 weeks of training, folks, adequate law enforcement training, I can tell you from having done it myself, takes months. Okay, anywhere between 4 to 5, in some cases 6 months. Whether we're talking about state police in New Jersey, whether we're talking about police departments at a municipal level here in New Jersey, at the county level with the sheriff's department, okay, and other law enforcement officers, such as parole and things that, other occupations within our criminal justice system. 47 weeks isn't enough. Do we need body cams on ICE agents? Sure, why not? We have body cams on our police officers. We have body cams on our state troopers. We have body cams on our sheriff's officers. Why not? I'm all for accountability. You're not going to, folks, trust me, I'm not that conservative that can't be intellectually honest. Okay? I'm all for that. I'd like some accountability. Sure, that's fine. You're not going to hear a complaint out of me. Folks, but vilifying ICE agents for doing their job, that's where many progressives and the radical left have just gone off the reservation, where they feel the need somehow to start deputizing residents and embolden them to think that, hey, obstructing ICE operations is actually a good thing. No, folks, it's a federal crime. Okay? Assaulting federal agents like Representative LaMonica MacGyver did, that's a federal crime. And hopefully LaMonica MacGyver learns her lesson and rots in jail. And she should be sentenced to jail. She should go to prison. I don't care if you are a member of the House of Representatives. You can't go around shoving federal agents. And as I said before, shout out to Rob Menendez for very deceptive strength there to be able to hold that behemoth back, because that looked impossible to do. When you look at LaMonica MacGyver, I mean, that's a big woman. So for Rob Menendez to be able to grab her and restrain her, I mean, that, again, Rob, shout out to you, bro. I don't know if you do CrossFit. I don't know if you do, I'm not sure if you do jujitsu like I do, or cross training, whatever it is you're doing, Taekwondo. That's very deceptive strength there by our U.S. representative in the 8th Congressional District. Holding back that behemoth, that took some serious strength there. Okay? But again, somehow one side of the political aisle has felt that vilifying ICE agents and simply going out and doing their job and removing dangerous criminal illegals. Folks, we saw that this past weekend. We saw 10 illegals being rounded up, and guess what? They have serious felonies on their records, aside from sneaking back into the United States after being deported previously. Okay? We've seen operations in Elizabeth, Toms River this week, New Brunswick, Newark, okay, as well as other parts of the United States. Now, whether it's Musa Ali and now Rob Menendez seems to be taking up the mantle, you want to abolish ICE? Well, again, folks, abolishing anything, as we've known in recent years, doesn't come across too well. How about the defund the police movement? How'd that work out for everybody back in 2020? And that woke bullshit we saw during the summer of love when, let's be honest, we were having to glorify a career criminal like George Floyd. Okay? Yes, for many progressives and some elites on the left, sure, yeah, you want to defund the police as they walk around with private security or live in gated communities and have big border walls on their homes. Again, the amount of hypocrisy and sanctimony from the American left never ceases to amaze me. But let's get down to business here. Whether it's Musa Ali or any other candidate running during the cycle, you want to abolish ICE? Well, what are you going to put in its place? That's going to require Congress to rewrite federal law when it comes to the charter and the mission statement of the Department of Homeland Security. Doesn't sound so easy, huh? Yeah, it's cool for clickbait and for hashtags to say, oh, abolish ICE and wear pins like a bunch of fools at award shows or be out there with signs, whatever. I mean, that's cool. That's cute, folks. You know, knock yourselves out. But if all you're going to do is just say, well, we got to get rid of something, cool. What do you replace it with? What agency are you going to put in charge of getting rid of dangerous illegals in this country? Which we've seen in blue states and red states. And coincidentally, folks, have you ever seen, like in red states, you don't see the amount of drama and hysterics that you see, for example, in states like Minnesota that have been complicit and have enabled illegals for years now? Or other sanctuary states, coincidentally, New Jersey, New York. Okay? ICE has a tough job to do. Now, should they do it better? Should they be more efficient? Should they be more competent? Of course. No one's saying they shouldn't be. But what do you do to revise ICE? I gave you some improvements already off the bat. Increase training. Add body cams. That's fine. Doesn't seem outlandish or unreasonable to me. Sure, do it. Let's have accountability. Do we want accountability from everybody? All right, cool. But just abolishing ICE for the sake of, hey, I want to be in the news cycle. I want to get clickbait. Okay? I want to get trends. I want to get more views on my social media platforms. That's cute, folks. I mean, knock yourselves out. But I can't take you seriously unless you're going to offer me something concrete and constructive when it comes to what do you put in its place. They're doing a tough job, folks. And by the way, have you noticed a drop in the crime rate nationally? I wonder what we can equate that to. Perhaps getting rid of dangerous criminals, and in many cases, dangerous illegals in many of our states here in the United States? I don't know. Kind of seems like, I don't know, coincidence, doesn't it? It's not. But again, folks, interesting to see where Musa Ali is going to be going during this campaign, because let's be honest, if it's just going to be generic attacks, that's not going to get him anywhere during this election season. Let's move into Union City, and a shout out to Jeff Henning, one of the elder statesmen here in Hudson County media from Hudson County TV, for his reporting on this story, where 2 Union City High School employees recently received the 2025-2026 Governor's Educator of the Year Awards. Naomi Vieira, a special education teacher for the Life Skills Transition Program for students aged 18 to 21, was named Teacher of the Year, while Debbie Mendez, the high school's parent liaison, has been recognized as the Educational Service Professional of the Year. Now, Vieira has taught in the Union City School District for 23 years, the past 9 at the award-winning Union City High School. Mendez has spent over 23 years in her role as a parent liaison. Now, of course, you can check out Hudson County TV on their page at HudsonTV.com for a very specific and detail-oriented video taken by Jeff Henning, acknowledging the job performance and the passion that both of them have for their occupation. Once again, folks, congratulations to both Mrs. Vieira and Mrs. Mendez for their accomplishments and their recognition by the city of New Jersey. And folks, it's just yet another reminder why the Union City School District, under the leadership of the distinguished superintendent, Sylvia Abato, and of course, the assistant superintendents, Mr. John Benetti, and of course, Mrs. Jerry Perez, continues to excel in educational quality, not just in Hudson County, but throughout the state of New Jersey. Yes, folks, Union City school districts continue to produce great schools, great students, and of course, great results. Lastly, folks, we're still experiencing some frigid temperatures and there's still snow accumulated everywhere, but sooner or later it'll be warmer, hopefully. And coming up this spring, mark it on your calendars for Friday night, April the 17th, as I bring you Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey, emanating from the world-famous Son Cubano located along the waterfront in West New York, New Jersey at 40-4 Riverwalk Place. Now, on Friday night, April the 17th, starting at 8 p.m., we'll be having great raffles from prizes based on local businesses here in Hudson County and throughout New Jersey. We'll have DJ Ziggy Roman keeping the vibe going all evening long. And of course, I do want to thank the ownership and the staff, as well as the management at Son Cubano, for allowing us to host Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. Now, folks, I've been proud to volunteer for Alzheimer's New Jersey for some years now. And for more information about all the great resources that they provide for families dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia here in the Garden State, please visit them at www.alznj.org. Once again, that's www.alznj.org. I'm proud to partner with them and raise money for Alzheimer's New Jersey because together, folks, you know what? We can do our part, raise awareness, help out members in our community. Again, whether it's family members, neighbors, co-workers, you name it, folks. Alzheimer's and dementia continues to affect our community at record numbers. So again, mark it on your calendars, and you might be thinking, oh, Fernando, it's only February. Trust me, folks, the weeks go by fast, and before you know it, guess what? It'll be St. Patrick's Day, it'll be Easter, and it'll be hopefully nice and sunny and hopefully a lot warmer than the days we've been experiencing. So once again, mark it on your calendars for Friday night, April the 17th, for the 2026 edition of Memories Matter at the world-famous Son Cubano on Friday night, April the 17th. And together, we can defeat Alzheimer's once and for all. And that's our show for this week. Once again, folks, to check out all the excellent programming brought to you by the leader in independent media here in Hudson County, the Hudson Media Group. Make sure you like them on Facebook. Of course, follow them on Instagram and X. And most importantly, make sure you subscribe to all their content on their YouTube page. Click the bell there and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content brought to you by the Hudson Media Group. Whether it's Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe, Hudson County View Live every Wednesday with John Robert Hines, the editor of the Hudson County View, and of course, Stick at Night with Hudson County Commissioner Anthony Romano, as well as all the great young men and women from North Bergen High School, led by Greta Hernandez. Folks, we talk about the issues that matter most to you and cover the topics, events, and of course, all the great things that Hudson County presents to you every single day. Again, folks, I can't say enough about how grateful I am to the Hudson Media Group President and CEO, Patrick O'Melia, for his belief in my abilities as we approach 7 years here with the Hudson Media Group with Talking Politics. Folks, again, I thank you for all your support. And of course, I appreciate it as I'll continue to be unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid. And as a result, you know it's Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I am the generational talent in Garden State Media, folks, and your leader for trustworthy journalism. That's right. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Enjoy the Super Bowl, folks. Please party responsibly. I see the Seahawks 21 and the Patriots 17 at Super Bowl 60 this Sunday in Santa Clara. Have a great week, folks. We'll see you next week.